Hello everyone and welcome again to a new video. So in this video we will talk about standards-based language education. If you haven't watched the last video about competency-based language teaching, I really urge you to go back, because if you watch that video it's going to be easier for you to understand this standard-based language education. So let's start with some definitions. Standards are overall national guiding frameworks in the form of general statement reflecting the goals and principles and specifying the target competencies to be attained in the foreign language and resulting in a standard performance after an extended period of language instruction. Some types of standards. We have standards for learners. For example, learners will be able to read and write broadly, appropriate differences, ability to think properly and solve problems, assess what they read or hear, learn and work autonomously and effectively connect to their communities. So we also have some standards for teachers, like content knowledge, linguistics, aid learners development, teaching strategies and assessment, reflective practice and development. Standards for the materials. Materials generally aims at meeting the learner's, teacher and the curriculum standards. There are standards for the textbooks to evaluate to see if they're good or not. And some types of instruction in standards-based language education. Instructions are student-centered, reflective approach for both the teacher and the student, task-based with challenging and authentic task, classroom environment that foster a socio-cultural community. Some influential theories or approaches. It is influenced by experiential learning, which is task-based and content-based. It also is influenced by holistic learning and communicative approach, and also a top-down approach to learning. Here we have some characteristics of standards. Standards are indicator. Standards to share expectations. For example, how good is good enough? That means to meet the expectations. Are those standards like real enough or not? They also help the types and the amount of knowledge and skills that the learning process and use before leaving school. And here are some principles. All students can get smart with effort. Students who need more get more. That means like there must be a remedial work. Focus on learning, not on teaching. For example, how much my students have learned. Learning language through meaningful use. Communication in the three modes to emphasize content and purpose of communication. Like we have the interpretive, the interpersonal, and the presentational modes of communication. It also like some of the principles are also like cultural, social, and cognitive processes in language and academic development, and integration of cultural and academic content. Learners manipulate language to communicate thought. Grammar serves communication needs, which is like used in authentic situations, not like in the previous methods. It focuses on accuracy, but now we are focusing on communication. Some objectives and goals of standards-based language education. We have to attain and demonstrate specified skills, knowledge, and attitude. All parties in a community needs to work together and decide on what standards to target and how to make sure these standards are reached in due time. English as a second language standards are framed around three goals: social language, academic language, and socio-cultural knowledge. The rationale for language learning are five goals area. We call them 5 C's. We have first communication, community, culture, comparison, and connection. The standard-based approach to language education defines competence as well as incompetence, ensures a valid and reliable assessment, ensures the quality of our educational program, and holds program accountable to their outcomes. Some activities and materials. There are inquiry-based activities, urge or ensures the investigations. There are authentic text exploration, research and technology-based projects, textbooks that meet various learning styles, textbooks that explicitly identify goals for learners, introduction of information communication technology, and use of internet, realia and visuals, audio, video materials are integrated. Now let's see the role of the teacher. He is facilitator, a guide, task designer, group and process manager, needs analyst, technician, expert. Teacher helps students transfer knowledge and skills. Teacher teaches the strategies. Teacher nurtures students' motivation and investment in school work. And now let's see the role of the learner. Learners are negotiators, they cooperate, researchers, investigators, participants, and they are active members of the community. They evaluate their own progress, which leads to kind of autonomous, as well as we have seen in competency-based language teaching. Standard-based language education also have some advantages and disadvantages. Let's start with disadvantages. Standards are flexible. They apply to many languages. They provide learning experiences that promote autonomy and choice. They develop personal, professional development plans. They involve all in the learning process. All participants are accountable. They can be applied to other aspects of the educational system. They provide learning experiences that respond to differential rates of learning, a very moral, impartial attitudes toward cross-cultural differences and conflict. Some drawbacks of this framework are it focuses on behavior and performance rather than on the development of thinking skills. Learners are socialized vis-a-vis the values which are socially prescribed and in favor of the dominant socio-economic group, as we have seen in competency-based language teaching. It reduces language to a set of competencies which are sometimes difficult to operationalize in terms of the learner's needs. There are many other areas and competencies not taken into account by this approach. Thank you very much for watching.